Hello everyone, welcome to Lady Lovestead Reads. Today I'm doing a vlog style Friday Reads video. Hey friends, so I am at a park right now. I'm meeting some friends for a picnic. They are in town for the weekend for the Memorial Day holiday here in the States. And sorry about the shaky vision. I'm really excited to see them because I haven't seen them in like over 5 years. They live out of state, but they are some good pals of mine. I'm just going to call them Mr. and Mrs. Red to protect their privacy, but I met Mrs. Red in college. So she lived in the dorm room right next door to my dorm room as an undergraduate. And then I saw her meet Mr. Red and like the romance that ensued, and they got married when I was in grad school, I think. I was finishing up grad school. Yeah. And I was in the wedding, and yeah, so they live out of state. They've got 2 kids, and I just haven't seen them in a really long time, so I'm excited. I'm at the park. We're gonna have a little picnic, and the kids are gonna play in the park, and then later today, since it is Memorial Day, we're having a grill out with a friend of mine. I say we, like me and my boyfriend are going to cook on a grill with a friend of mine. This friend of mine I haven't seen in over a year because of COVID, but he is a good buddy of mine who we used to work at the same university where I work, and so I've known him for like 12 years now, and I haven't seen him in over a year because of COVID. He works at the public library now, so he doesn't work at the university where I work. So yeah, so I get to see him because we're all vaccinated. So Mr. and Mrs. Red and their kids are vaccinated. I am vaccinated. My boyfriend is vaccinated. My friend coming over tonight, what should we call him? We'll call him the Hulk. As in the wrestler, the Hulk, not the Hulk, the Superman power person, because he really loves wrestling. So anyway, we're all vaccinated, so we get to hang out, and it feels kind of weird, to be honest, to be like social again and to see these people who I haven't seen in years. Even though I'm really looking forward to it, it still feels a little like just a little weird because I haven't seen people in a very long time. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels that way. Like, it just, like, I'm excited to see them, but it's kind of weird. So, yeah. I garden in containers. In the summer, I grow vegetables and herbs. And this year, I wanted to redo the stands that hold the buckets that I garden my vegetables in, to paint them white, just to make them look a little nicer and to really jazz up the space. I started working on this prior to Monday, and here's the work that I have been working on so far.
Monday we finished painting the bottom side of the stands and then set them on out to start filling them with buckets. I also put together a grill that I had sitting in my garage in a box for like 3 years before we grilled out with my friend the Hulk.
Hello, good morning. It is 8 a.m. Tuesday morning, and I'm feeling really wiped out from yesterday. So I got my coffee, and it was like a really good day. I saw Mr. and Mrs. Red, who I hadn't seen in years, and their kids, and it was wonderful. And I saw my buddy, the Hulk, after not seeing him for like a year and a half because of COVID, and that was wonderful. But I am also a neurodivergent person. I'm extremely introverted. I have chronic pain, chronic fatigue, and like this weekend was just a little bit too much for me, I think. A little too much peopling, a little too much activity, because like I really made some huge steps in the patio renovation project. That was like really physical work. I did some shopping for the patio renovation project. That was also fairly physical. Like I didn't have a lot of downtime, and I'm paying for it now. And what also sucks is that I have like a very long day of work ahead of me. I have so many things I need to do today for work, and I'm looking at probably a 12 to 13 hour day. So I haven't gotten much reading done because it just was busy. I did read a little bit of the book I'm currently reading before bed last night, but not like a lot of it. So I do want to share with you today like what I'm trying to read this week for this week's vlog. So you know what my goal is. So allergies. I'm binge reading the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I want to read the Grishaverse series before I watch the Shadow and Bone TV show. I am going to watch the show because I love Ben Barnes. I loved him in The Punisher and in Stardust, and like I'm going to give it a go even though I'm not a big TV or movie person these days. I read Shadow and Bone in May, and I liked the book. I thought it was, you know, it was of its time in the way that it was a standard chosen one hetero romance fantasy in the 2000s, right? It's kind of a lot of people are saying that it was one of the first of its genre, and I agree, and it kind of shows, but I didn't think it was a bad book either. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun little romp. I thought the world building was a little bit flimsy. But interestingly, I think that kind of worked in its favor, because sometimes when the first book in a fantasy series is too heavy on world building, it loses all sight of like plot and characterization. And this book was more heavy on plot and characterization. And I'm noticing now that I'm reading Siege and Storm that the world building is starting to be fleshed out a bit more. And so I think in the long run that kind of worked in its favor, because the story kept my attention in Shadow and Bone, and I got attached to the characters enough to read this, and it wasn't just like just a book of world building, which can sometimes happen. So I did give Shadow and Bone 3 out of 5 stars overall, and like 3.5 unicorns for fantasy genre. And now I'm reading Siege and Storm. I'd like to finish this ideally today or tomorrow. It's probably not going to happen. I'm on page 224 of 400 and some pages. I want to get a good chunk of this read today. I just don't know when I'm going to get that done. Like I said, I've got a really heavy work day ahead of me. After I read this, I want to immediately go into Ruin and Rising. I have it checked out on my Kindle. I'm checking these out from my library, but it's on my Kindle. My Kindle's downstairs. So after I read this book, I like to read that. And then the third book I want to read this week is a shorter one. And it's a middle grade called George by Gino. It's also downstairs, so I'm not going to go grab it. But that is about a trans kid, and I want to say he's in middle school, like he's young. And this book was like super controversial. Ashley from Bookish Realm talks about this book quite a bit, and about how like some schools tried to ban it from the school libraries, and it was like super controversial at the time that it was written. And it's a short little book, and I'm really excited to read that as part of my LGBTQ readathon. I don't know where I'm going to put that on my bingo card, but it's part of my readathon for LGBTQ. So those are the 3 books that I am trying to get through this week. We'll see if it actually happens. I'm going to go ahead and get logged into work and try to get as much done early on in the day, so that maybe I can take like palette cleansing breaks to read for 15 minutes here and there between projects. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to go ahead and get to it. Good morning. I was able to make some progress last night on Siege and Storm. And so far I am enjoying it. I really love pirates. It's one of my favorite like bookish themes or tropes or characters or whatever. And the storyline of Sturmond in this, where he's like a privateer and I'm basically a pirate, I just loved that so much. And he is my favorite character in this book so far, and I really want more of him. I just want more of Sturmond, more. And I made it to page almost 300 in the book, so I'm about 100 and some pages away from finishing. Hopefully I can finish tonight. Another thing that I like about this book so far is the way that Leigh Bardugo is exploring everybody's inner darkness, how she's exploring the idea of wondering like what you're really capable of doing depending on the situation that you're put in, because Alina now has all this power. And so she's like really wondering like, oh, am I just really power hungry? Am I doing the right thing? Am I feeding my darkness inside? What lengths would I go to continue to go get power? What lengths would I go to do what I think is right? And in doing those more drastic things, am I still doing the right thing? And like, there is a scene in here with a character where she said some really hurtful things to a character that she cared about, and like afterwards she just felt sick and she was like, what's happening to me? And I think that this really explores kind of this idea that within everybody there is the possibility of doing really bad things. Like everyone is capable of good, everyone is capable of evil, and it very much depends on the choices that we make, the values that we have, the perceptions that we're working from. In right now, like Alina's perception is that the things that she's doing for the greater good, but now she's starting to kind of question that and wonder like, am I actually just being greedy or power hungry? And I just think that's a really good example of exploring those kinds of feelings and thoughts and emotions in anyone who is human. So I really like that about it. There is one thing that I'm not loving, and this is just a me issue, and it's also kind of spoilery, so I'm going to put a spoiler note on the screen here, and I'll take it down after the spoiler is over. But I don't love the way they're hunting down these, like, creatures. to take their power and kill them. Like, I don't like that. So like protecting endangered wildlife and endangered species is so important to me. I have a butterfly garden specifically to help preserve monarch butterflies. Like, I donate to different charities that protect wildlife that are on the endangered species list. When I saw a starving polar bear, I was a wreck for a week. So like, I don't like how she's hunting down these mythical creatures that are so beautiful and so special, and like they're the only one of their kind, and then killing them. Like, it makes me sick. It makes me want to cry. I don't like that. I don't like that in this story. And I know it's just me. I'm such an animal lover, and animals are so important to me, and I'm so sensitive to anything relating to animals or even insects. So I know it's probably just a me thing, but I really don't love that part in these stories. And I kind of wish I knew, because like right now she's hunting the firebird, and I love the firebird as like the mythical creature and like all the fairy tales around the firebird. I wish that I knew when she's gonna hunt it so I could just skip over reading the part where she kills it, because I know it's coming up and I just don't want to go through that. So spoilers over. That's what I'm thinking so far. Hopefully I will get through the rest of the book tonight. One of the hobbies that I really like to engage in is raising butterflies in the spring and summer, and I frequently will order caterpillars from Insect Lore. They're a great company. They have a lot of really cool bug projects that you can do with kids if that's something you're interested in, and if you live in the United States. So I had ordered two cups of Painted Lady butterfly caterpillars. It was supposed to be 2 day shipping, and it actually took closer to a week to get here. So I haven't taken a good look at the caterpillars yet. I've just opened the box, and this lotion is here just to hold the box open. I'm a little concerned that we might have some dead caterpillars because it took so long for it to get here. And like, that's not Insect Lore's fault at all. Like, it's the shipping processor. And I won't say who it was either, whether it was UPS, USP, or whatever. But so let's take a look at the caterpillars here. So this is the first cup. Each cup is supposed to have 5. And like, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so unfortunately, because it took so long for them to get here, they're already quite large, and they're probably getting close to forming their chrysalids, if they're still alive. I don't see a lot of movement. Well, I guess we'll see. And then here's the other cup. We've got 1. Okay, so there's a smaller one. Usually they start out smaller like that, about that size. And then they go through different instars, which are just like growth spurts. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Oh, that one's moving. That's good. 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so this has all 5. 1 is definitely alive. And I don't know about the rest. Now, there's a chance that they're just really stressed from shipping. But I'm really not seeing a whole lot of movement on these guys. Oh, it's such a bummer. I'm going to let them adjust, and hopefully they're okay. But yeah, it also comes with... Oh, this got cheap. This used to be a harder plastic. That holds the... Where'd it go? Well, that's supposed to hold the lid once they form their chrysalids. And this is kind of disappointing. This is like a very flimsy plastic. It used to be much harder, more durable. And then it's got habitat in there for them once they eclose, and you keep them in the habitat for a week after they eclose as butterflies, and feed them like fruit and stuff, just so they build up their strength before you release them. So hopefully these little guys are okay. We'll see. Hello, my friends. It's Thursday, about 1 p.m. on Thursday, and you all know I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so I'm comfortable sharing this with you, but I'm having a big little flare-up today. Having a lot of pain, fatigue, gastroparesis issues, POTS issues, and it's been difficult to be upright for any amount of time today. So I figure while I am currently upright, I will get this in for my update for today. I was going to film my May wrap up today, but it looks like that's not going to happen. I did finish Siege and Storm last night, and I rated it 3 out of 5 stars overall, and probably 3 out of 5 unicorns for fantasy genre as well. I was really loving this story up until she got back to the little palace and she started to take over the second army. At that point in the book, when she does get back to the little palace, it just becomes one really long info dump. And like, as I think about it, like if I were editing this book and trying to give Leigh Bardugo some advice on how to improve that, I don't really know like what I would even tell her, because there's just so much going on in this story. Like there are so many different plot points that had she shown us rather than told us all of the info she dumped on us, then the book would have been easily like 600 pages long. So I'm wondering if maybe this would have been better suited for a longer series rather than trying to cram everything into a trilogy, if that would have worked better, because I really got bored once they were back at the little palace and it was just info dump after info dump after info dump after info dump, and like there was all this build up to the final battle scene, and for spoilery reasons I won't share with you, that was like a real letdown when the final battle scene finally happened, because they had like all of these really cool things planned for that final battle that just didn't happen. So it was kind of a letdown. But I mean, overall, like, I'm trying to keep this in context with when it was written, which was, it was published in 2013. So it's not super old, but it's not also of the current era of like YA, where YA has gotten just so much better than it was in 2013. And like, this is still like the Twilight era of YA fantasy, right? And there are some Twilighty themes in this book, like with the Darkling being, what, 130 years old and Alina being a teenager, with Alina having delusions and hallucinations about the Darkling, like Bella did with Edward and New Moon. Like, there's some overlap. There's some Twilighty overlap in this story. And I don't know if it's because those are just tropes that are common in YA, or if it was like, not, it's not plagiarism because she did it differently, right? If you do it differently, it's not plagiarism. It's like when someone remixes a song, it's not plagiarism. But it just was so similar, kind of made me go, but I mean, I enjoyed the experience of reading this book, and I think the world building in this is a lot better than it was in Shadow and Bone, but it did get very info dumpy, like in the last like fourth of the book. I also don't know why she does these prologues and epilogues. She does these prologues and epilogues that are like third person sort of fairy tale style, but they're just info dumping information about Alina and Mal and the story. And then the actual book itself is written in first person point of view from Alina's point of view, and I'm not totally understanding why she does the prologues and epilogues. To me, it seems like it really is just a plot device more than anything else, because it allows her to rapidly move ahead in the story without having to, again, like show us what happens in the story. So like those kind of bother me a little bit, because I don't feel like that's the purpose of a prologue or an epilogue, you know? But yeah, overall 3 stars out of 5 for the overall like quality of the genre, keeping in mind the year it was published, the genre, the target audience, all of that. And then just for overall fantasy genre and enjoyment, I'm leaning, it's honestly like a 2.5 to 3 unicorns. I liked this less than Shadow and Bone, but it's hard to say that because there were some things that I liked more in here than Shadow and Bone, and there were some things in Shadow and Bone that I liked more than I liked in Siege and Storm. So, it is what it is. And tonight, no, not tonight, I actually started Ruin and Rising last night. I read the prologue thingy last night before bed, and I'll start getting into the actual story here today. Hopefully get a good chunk of it done. I want to have this done by like Friday or Saturday so that I can be done with the trilogy and moving on to George, because I'm looking forward to reading George. Oh, and as a happy note, all the caterpillars survived that I ordered yesterday, and they're doing well. So I should have 10 butterflies at some point. Good morning. It's Friday morning, and I've had a pretty bad EDS flare-up past 24 hours. Yesterday, I just was not functioning, and today I'm in quite a bit of pain still, but I'm functioning. I have to go to the library. I have to return some books that are due back and pick up some books, and I think I'm going to stop and get a Starbucks coffee before I log in for work today so that I'm somewhat fortified going into work. I did get some reading of Ruin and Rising done yesterday since I spent a lot of the day horizontal. I read about 100 pages, and so far I like it. The scenes in the caves were giving me anxiety. I think I'm a little bit claustrophobic, so I hated the parts where they were just like stuck in these caves by the apparat and like, I was very happy that they got out of there. And I feel like not a lot has actually happened so far, even though I'm 100 pages in. So I don't really have a lot to say about it at this point. But want to run errands with me? Does that sound fun? Let's do it. Come on. Howdy, it is 4 p.m. on Friday, and those errands today were a bad idea. So the pain that I am experiencing right now is from dislocating this shoulder, my right shoulder. So all of the muscles in my neck, like around my trapezius and my shoulder area, are so locked up, and they're hurting so bad right now. And like riding in my car, like any little jostling movement just sent like sparks of pain down my spine. Like it was such a bad idea. But I got my books, so do you want to see what books I got? All right. First one is The Chance to Fly by Ali Stoker. This is a book that I'm reading for the Disability Readathon. I talked about it in my Readathon Pop video. The other book that I got from the library is Elizabeth. Oh my gosh, it's so heavy it hurts to hold that up. Elizabeth by J. Randy Taraborelli. This is the May-June pick for the Fierce Woman's Book Club, hosted by Milena and Kate Howe and Naomi. And this is kind of a heckin' chunker of a biography, but hopefully I'll be able to get through this in June. And then I also got book mail. Oh, whew, so I'm gonna open it here with you. Sorry, I keep gasping in pain because I forget that I am injured and not doing well. put on some lipstick because bold lipstick always makes me feel better. I gotta do something with my hair, you guys. If any of you know of like fun hairstyles for folks with disabilities who have trouble, so like right now, the injuries that I frequently sustain are dislocating my shoulders. So like anything that makes me go like this is going to be really painful for me. So I haven't been able to like style my hair in the longest time, and it's starting to weigh on my self-confidence. I'm starting to feel really self-conscious about it, and I need something different. Oh, stop moving that hand, Jess. I need something different going on here. Like, I like the color, but yeah, give me suggestions, style suggestions, those of you who are style conscious. And I am really struggling to get this open. Oh, yay. So interesting. These are books that I bought for the Lit with Indian Lit readathon. The first is Gachar Gochar by Vivek Shambhag, and I'm loving that it's a shorter little novella. Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot said a lot of really great things about this, which inspired me to pick it. So this is on my TBR for June. Super excited. And then this one appears to have been withdrawn from a library, which is completely fine. But the second one is Cobalt Blue by Sachin Kundalkar, translated by Jerry Pinto. Another work in translation. I have a couple other books that I wanted to read for the Lit with Indian Lit. One of them I'm probably going to have to purchase for my Kindle because I just can't find any like affordable actual books of the book. It's called Chandar and Sudha, I believe is what it's called. It's just not in print anywhere, and so I think I'm just gonna have to buy it new for my Kindle if I want to read that. My library doesn't have it. They don't have access to it. So that's been my biggest challenge with some of these readathons, is access to books, because I live in a small, very white community, and the library system in the US reflects the size of the community, and it also reflects the tastes of the community, because a library is only going to keep books in circulation at the library if they are being circulated, like if they're actually being read. So if a book isn't being read, they're not going to keep it. And so it's difficult for me to find highly diverse texts like this, especially when it comes to works in translation in my area from a library. And I can interlibrary loan them, but then interlibrary loan costs like $2 per library loan. And if it's going to cost me $2 to loan it from the library, I'm just going to buy a used copy if I can find it. So, yeah, those are the books that I have in my possession as of today. In other news, the caterpillars are starting to form their chrysalids. So in 3 days, I'll be able to move the chrysalids, I don't know what the plural of that word is, the chrysalis formations into the habitat and get their habitat all set up. So I'll be excited to show you that process. Whew, it is a hot one today. I got up early this morning and went to the greenhouse because seeing how hot it was going to get today, I wanted to get to the greenhouse early to beat the heat. And I'm just getting back home. It is so hot out. It is like 90 degrees. I don't know what that is Celsius. 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll put the translation up on the screen here, but it's absolutely beautiful, but it is hot, and my fair Irish skin is not made for this heat, And I just was really craving, like, I don't hardly ever drink soda, but I was really craving like an ice cold soda. So I got a Diet Coke on my way home. It's not sponsored. None of my videos are sponsored. I'm too small still. But I am feeling so much better today than I was Thursday, Friday. I think I'm through that flare-up that I was having. I still have quite a bit of pain in my shoulder blade area here. But, you know, investigating things and weighing out the symptoms and, you know, deductive reasoning shows me that it's probably just because I popped my shoulder out, it's injured, it's sore. So I like hit it with every pain management technique I know of yesterday, from NSAIDs to topicals, heat, ice, jacuzzi tub, massage, like everything I could possibly think of for pain management strategies, because it was really hurting yesterday. And then let myself get some good sleep last night, and now it's feeling a lot better. Like, it's still sore, but yesterday it was like a 7 out of a 10 on a pain scale. Today it's more of a 4 or 5, depending on how I move my body. Last night and yesterday I did get through a good chunk of Ruin and Rising. I'm a little over halfway through it, so hopefully I can finish it today, and then I've got whatever's left of today and tomorrow to read George, which will kind of kick off my Queer Lit Readathon for next week. I think it's next week, the Queer Lit Readathon. I am reading George for the Queer Lit Readathon. Oh, so satisfying. What can I tell you about Ruin and Rising? Non-stop action. Characters dying that I didn't want to die. Little concerned about the direction it's going. And I think in the series so far, Prince Nikolai is far and away my favorite character. So that's what I can tell you about Ruin and Rising so far. I have to log into work. I got behind on work because I wasn't feeling well Thursday, Friday, so I do need to work this weekend, catch up on a few things. But I'm going to plug away at the book still. The greenhouse is pretty much the only like errand activity I need to do this weekend, so when I'm not working I can just read, and that is the plan. I'm gonna enjoy my soda and get to work and try to get through work stuff as quickly as possible so that I can read in the air conditioning. Good morning, friends. It is a Monday, and I actually skipped filming anything yesterday, but I did read George cover to cover. George by Alex Gino, and this kicked off my Queer Lit reading readathon that is running through this current week. I absolutely loved George. George is about George, who is actually Melissa. George is a trans girl, and she hasn't come out to any of her family members or her friends. Her school is putting on the play Charlotte's Web, and she really wants to play Charlotte. She auditions, and her teacher's like, no, you're a boy, you can't be Charlotte. And she gets really depressed. Her best friend, Kelly, gets the part of Charlotte. And then things ensue from there. Like, she and Kelly come up with a really good plan for George/Melissa's coming out. Kelly is super supportive. They're in 4th grade. And I found in this book the kids, aside from the standard bullies, but the kids, like George's brother Scott, George's best friend Kelly, they were so understanding and accepting and loving and supportive, and I loved them. The adults were a little different, and I was surprised by some of the reactions from some of the adults. One of the things that I loved the most about this book is that it's clearly written for kids in the 4th grade, and throughout the book Alex Gino uses she, her, hers pronouns for George, even before George comes out. And it's such a loving way to narrate the story, And I feel like this is such a good book to teach young kids about what it means to feel trans. I think it's going to help young trans kids feel seen and loved. And I think it's going to help young cis kids be more empathetic towards their trans brothers and sisters. So, absolutely loved this book. I gave it 5 stars out of 5. I also started reading Elizabeth by J. Randy Taraborelli. I did not get very far. I got like 17 pages in, but so far I'm enjoying it. In my experience with biographies, the writing style can be fairly dry, almost like a textbook. But J. Randy Taraborelli is actually, his writing is fairly engaging, and I'm enjoying it so far. He's done a lot of biographies. I looked him up the other day. He's done like Beyonce and Marilyn Monroe, like so many icons he has written biographies of. And so I'm really curious to pick up more of his work, you know, depending on how I end up liking this one. But so far I'm enjoying it. That'll wrap up this week's vlog. I'm gonna go ahead and sign out here. I hope that you enjoyed this, and there will be more vlogs to come. So until next time, make sure to drink good coffee, read good books, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye!